Disorder is a diagnosis of exclusion, in my experience. So it can't be generalized anxiety disorder. It can't be social anxiety disorder. It can't be PTSD. It can't be anything else. You have to rule everything else out. Then it can be adjustment disorder. So what is it? Well, it's obviously the big thing just happened, which in 3 months of it, and it doesn't last more than 6 months. Okay, so you just got divorced, or your parents just got divorced. It was 4 months ago. Now you're at school, and you're afraid of talking to people, and you don't want to get embarrassed between things. Blah blah blah. It can come across as social anxiety disorder, but unless there is kind of like what I had mentioned, you don't want to embarrass yourself, or you don't go out in groups or something. You don't go out and make friends. You don't want to go into social events. If it's something like that, then yeah, whatever, social anxiety disorder. But in the absence of anything like that, adjustment disorder. Remember, adjustment disorder, you always have it as a diagnosis of exclusion. Once everything else has been crossed off, that's when you can do adjustment disorder. PTSD. I don't like this whole PTSD is hard thing, because in my mind, PTSD, you think about it like Vietnam or rape. And remembering it as hard, whatever, rape, erect penis, maybe you want to do something like that, but that's just weird. In PTSD, the big thing is they keep re-experiencing the events. You can think of, someone who's in like Vietnam or something, and all those movies, or whenever they come back, they always keep seeing the same thing over and over again. When they wake up from sleep, it's all of a sudden, it's super violent, hyperarousal. I don't know what to tell you. It's something that lasts more than 1 month. Acute stress disorder, less than 1 month. Prazosin reduces nightmares. I've seen that tested. Back to adjustment disorder and how it's exclusionary. Don't forget that. You can also remember that just by reading this. They kind of give you a hint. Well, the symptoms don't meet the criteria for this. Oh, it doesn't meet the criteria for social anxiety disorder. Oh, it doesn't meet the criteria for generalized anxiety disorder. And they'll always give you a big stressor that happens. But remember, because it's exclusionary, rule out everything else first. This isn't really as important. The only important thing has to do with the schizophrenias. Schizophreniform, remember, 1 to 6 months. Schizophrenia, 6 months and more. Brief psychotic disorder, less than 1 month. Everything else, not as big of a deal. All right. The timing of all this other stuff doesn't really matter, except for, of course, cyclothymic disorders. Except for things like persistent depressed mood or something. The big thing is for the schizophrenia, is for the timing. Everything else, you can just, it's more about the description than it is about the timing. So again, the only thing that matters for timing are your schizophrenias and your acute stress disorders. In addition, I guess, in addition to PTSD versus acute stress. Remember, schizophrenia, 6 months and more. Schizophreniform, 1 to 6 months. Brief psychotic disorder, less than 1 month. And if you want to be super technical, you've got a week or more for bipolar 1. But the big thing that will differentiate bipolar 1 from bipolar 2 isn't the time. It's the presence of a manic episode.